Imagine this. A young mother lies collapsed on the floor, her breathing shallow, her heart pounding after an unbearable shock. Her husband has just done something no woman ever expects, something that crushed not just her spirit, but her very will to live. Beside her, two innocent 3-year-old twins, barely able to form full sentences, stand frozen, their tiny eyes wide with fear. Then, in a moment no one could have predicted, they shuffle toward her phone, and with trembling little fingers, they press random numbers on the glowing screen. But here's the chilling twist. That accidental call connects to someone who wasn't supposed to hear their cries. Someone who should have ignored it. Yet on that day, fate decided otherwise. What followed would unravel a buried truth about racism, betrayal, and survival. A truth so haunting that it forces us to ask, how much pain can one human endure before the world finally listens? This isn't just a story about a collapse or a desperate call. It's about the cruel realities people face when love, trust, and equality are ripped apart by prejudice and hate. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear isn't just shocking. It's the kind of story that keeps you questioning your own assumptions until the very last second. So tell me, if your children's desperate mistake uncovered the darkest truth about your life, would you even survive it? The story begins in a quiet suburban town, a place that, from the outside, looked picture perfect. Rows of neat houses lined the streets, children played in manicured yards, and families gathered on Sundays for community events. But beneath that polished surface, something darker thrived. Hidden prejudice, whispers that turned into stares, doors that closed when certain neighbors walked by. Amira, a 29-year-old mother of two, thought she had escaped all that when she married Daniel. He wasn't just her husband, he was supposed to be her safe place. They met at university, where love seemed to erase boundaries. He was from a privileged background, white and wealthy. She was the daughter of immigrants who had faced a lifetime of quiet discrimination. For years, their love felt unshakable, a bridge between two worlds that often clashed. But reality doesn't bend to dreams forever. When Amira and Daniel moved into his childhood neighborhood after marriage, the shift was subtle at first. His parents welcomed her politely, but she noticed the stiffness in their smiles, the way their eyes lingered on her skin tone, her accent, the food she cooked. Neighbors seemed kind, yet conversations would cut short as she approached, and playdates for the twins were postponed without reason. Daniel told her not to overthink. "It's just how people are," he'd say, brushing it off. But Amira couldn't ignore the weight of being different in a place that preached perfection. Still, for the sake of her family, she swallowed the unease. She focused on raising her twins, Maya and Adam, whose innocent laughter was the only thing that drowned out the world's cruelty. But the cracks in her marriage grew wider with each passing year. Daniel, once attentive and protective, began to change. He grew distant, colder, sharper with his words. He stopped defending her when subtle racist remarks were made at gatherings. Worse, sometimes, he joined in. What started as silence turned into complicity, and what was once complicity became cruelty. Amira was torn. Was this the same man she once trusted with her life? The same man who promised forever? She tried to rationalize, tried to believe it was stress, pressure, or something temporary, but deep inside, a storm brewed. And then one evening, that storm broke. It was supposed to be an ordinary night. Amira had prepared dinner, the twins giggled at the table, and Daniel walked in later than usual. But the moment he entered, she felt something was off. His eyes avoided hers. His steps were heavy. He smelled faintly of alcohol, though he rarely drank. As the twins played in the living room, Amira asked softly, "Is everything okay?" Daniel's silence was louder than any words. He sat across from her, staring at his plate but not eating. Then, with an icy calmness, he said the words that would shatter her world. "I don't want this anymore. I don't want you. Anymore. I don't want to raise these kids the way we are. I'm tired of pretending." At first, she thought she misheard, but then came the confession. Raw, brutal, and merciless. He admitted that marrying her had been a mistake, that he had been pressured to appear progressive, open-minded, but deep inside, he resented her. He resented the whispers about him marrying a foreigner. He resented the stares, the jokes, the lowered status among his own circle. And now he resented his own children who carried her features, her skin tone, her roots. Every word struck like a blade. Amira's chest tightened, her body trembled. She wanted to scream, to rage, to demand how love could turn into hate so viciously. But Daniel wasn't finished. That night, he told her he had someone else, someone easier, someone who fit in. And the cruelest part? He said it with no shame, no guilt, as if erasing her existence was just another choice on his list. Amira collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air, her mind spinning between disbelief and despair. The twins rushed toward her, crying, tugging at her arms, not understanding why their mother suddenly looked broken. Daniel didn't move to help. He simply stood, cold, watching the woman he once vowed to protect fall apart at his feet. Then he left the house, just walked out, leaving her alone with the children. Her vision blurred. Darkness crept at the edges. Her body gave in, and she collapsed fully, her breath shallow, her heart struggling. She was slipping away. And that's when it happened. The twins, too young to understand, too innocent to process, did the only thing their tiny minds could think of. They grabbed her phone, pressed random numbers, and somehow, against all odds, a stranger answered. The call went to an older woman across town. At first, she thought it was a prank. Soft cries, broken sobs, and the garbled voices of children. But something in those sounds struck her. She didn't hang up. Instead, she listened. Then, realizing the gravity, she traced the call through emergency services. Minutes later, paramedics arrived at Amira's home. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, whispering. Sirens lit up the street. Amira was rushed to the hospital, unconscious but alive. The twins, clinging to each other, became the silent witnesses of a night that would change everything. But the climax wasn't just survival, it was exposure. Because when doctors examined Amira, they discovered evidence of long-term stress, anxiety, and neglect. Social workers got involved, and slowly, the facade of Daniel's perfect life began to crumble. Word spread. His betrayal, his cruelty, his hidden racism, it all spilled into the open. The same neighbors who once turned away couldn't deny what had happened. And Daniel? He wasn't the golden boy anymore. His mask had been ripped off, leaving only the ugliness beneath. Amira survived, but not unchanged. She rebuilt slowly, painfully, piece by piece. The stranger who answered that random call visited her, reminding her that humanity, though rare, still existed in unexpected places. Her children grew, and so did her strength. She moved away from the neighborhood, away from the whispers, away from the shadows of betrayal. And though the scars remained, she carried them as proof of survival, not shame. But here's the haunting question. How many Amiras are still out there? How many suffer in silence, crushed by the weight of love twisted into hate, trapped in families poisoned by prejudice? This story forces us to look deeper, not at the collapse, not at the betrayal, but at the system that allowed it to grow in silence. Because racism doesn't just come in slurs shouted on the street. Sometimes it hides in a smile, in a marriage, in a home that looks perfect on the outside. So I ask you, if love itself can be poisoned by hate, what does it take for us to heal? And if two toddlers pressing random numbers can save a life, what excuse do the rest of us have for staying silent?